Welcome to FiST Chat, your source for news and discussions in film science and technology, hosted by Steve Kern and Ben Warner. Visit our website at fistchat.com. Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, your source for news and discussions on film science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern on this Australia Day weekend. How are we today, Steve?
I'm good, thanks, Ben. Hi, FiST Chat fans. As always, it's good to be here.
Absolutely. It's been kind of a nice weekend. Caught some nice fireworks off the balcony for Australia Day, which is always good. And it's a good weekend to sit down and do a bit of FiST Chat. We're actually going to be recording a couple of episodes today that'll be released over the next couple of weeks. So it should all be good. We've got quite a bit to get through. Now we're going to be focusing on science for our first topic here. CSIRO researcher calls for balance between applied and pure science. This was from the ABC. Very interesting. It's kind of, like we'll go into it in a bit more detail, but this idea of, the need for pure and applied science. And obviously being the layman here, obviously between the two of us, I can understand that there would be a need for the two of them. But this article that was written by Dr. James Tickner is basically saying that there's a need for pure and applied science because you need research and you need to be able to apply it. But he's questioning the need for separating those sort of pure research scientists from applied scientists. And that could sort of cause problems with the delivery of science, say, to the community. Is that how you kind of saw it overall?
Yeah, well, there's the long debate. There has to be some return on science. And ultimately, sure, I would expect that most scientists would agree with that. It's just that it's the perception. So, we get a lot of perceptions in science, i.e. that, all medical science is good. However, mining science might be bad because we're looking to frack something or something like that. So, we also get then at another level, we get the fact that, if it's a cure for cancer, it's good science. However, if you're just looking at why cells interact or how they might interact, there doesn't appear to be any really good basis for your research. So why would you, do that sort of research? But it's not as clear cut as that. Pure science, I guess, the science that doesn't seem to lead towards some sort of good outcome, just expands our knowledge base, and it means that those who come afterwards and want to do R&D and develop an application that might have a specific technology or outcome for society is possible. You can't do it if all we ever did was R&D science. Then you would lose all of the opportunities for R&D ultimately after a generation.
Absolutely. Just as an example. You mentioned cancer research before, and I was actually listening to a TED Talk where they were discussing the hurdles that drug treatments have to go through to sort of get to the stage where they can actually be used. And there's actually some fairly big hurdles that they have to go through to get there. And one of the issues was, I think that's sort of implied in what this article was saying, is the idea if you to kind of get to the drug that you need, you might need to go through a whole bunch of other drug tests that probably don't yield any results or maybe yield bad results before you can get to the one that actually does get the job done, kind of thing. And in applying this to sort of cancer research, because obviously there's a need for cancer drugs to, kind of take up that battle against cancer, that there's a lot of money that would have to be injected into that kind of research, because a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of study has to be put into that. And it could seem, say, from a financial point of view, that a lot of money is being wasted on, funding all of these drug trials that don't go anywhere. But in a sense, they do go somewhere if you end up with only one drug, perhaps, that can get the job done. And that's where there's that tension there between you do need to do the research and maybe go in directions that, you don't know whether they're going to yield results, but then you've also got to have faith that it's going to lead somewhere where it will get the result.
Well, you've picked a really good field there as an example, Ben, because cancer research is a really good example of this. Firstly, cancer is a really complicated disease, and there's all sorts of different cancers. They all work in kind of the same way, but the causation and the way they go about, I guess, the way they work against the body, is different in every case. So you get two things here. You're absolutely right. Because let's face it, cancer's been around for a long time. Nobody's really cured it yet. We know how to fight it. We know how to test for it, but we don't really have cures in most cases. Treatments certainly have improved over that time, which is a fantastic thing, but there's no way of avoiding it. However, if you only fund applied uses of science, well then all that ends up happening is that every science project becomes a cure for cancer approach. And to that end, perhaps that is where some people would say you get a lot of wastage of money. Alternatively, if you're not allowing people to do more pure science and just more investigation of how the body works and how those cells work in general, you won't find the alternate opportunities that may exist to find cures or improve treatments. And I think that's what we've seen over the last 10 years, is that technology has actually given rise to a lot more inventive ways to look at cancer, and we're certainly improving our treatments and detections, and certainly every aspect of the medical fight against cancer is improving. But a lot of that is born from the pure science side and our ability to interpret the results of pure science. So you'll never find a cure for any disease only in the knowledge that you have to date. You need pure science behind that to broaden our approaches and to look for new ways to fight disease.
Absolutely. And just one other thing that was mentioned in the article too, there's like this almost tendency, if you try to split the two, that, you get the image of the scientist in the public where, they're maybe not necessarily Doc Brown, but they're wearing the lab coats and they're sort of secluded from society and, in their little sort of labs doing their bits and pieces. We don't quite know what they're up to, but we know it has to be, something good, and that's where they do all their stuff. But on the flip side, there is the whole practical aspect to science that maybe isn't as aware in the public eye as far as how people would see them, and that could potentially be an issue if you do get a certain group of scientists that say are only interested in doing pure research and have no interest in finding a way to maybe putting their theories, ideas, and what they find into practice.
I think historically that might have been the case. I mean, there was a time probably pre-1980s when, science and academic side of science was very arcane, and it was possible for academics to, potentially just work in areas that may have no great outcome for wider society and just be an area of interest for that particular academic. I really think with the changes we've seen to the way university and academic structures work, and research structures more broadly, I don't think that's the case anymore. I think, though, what you do see is you see a tendency for people to put more value on applied science over pure science, because there appears to be a greater outcome, i.e. we have a cure for, or i.e. we have a solution to. However, that just doesn't put any value on the value of the pure science, which gives us the knowledge for us to then apply it.
Well, if you're using that kind of argument, what would be the point of, say, trying to find the Higgs boson, that sort of thing, where
that's right.
So we found this particle, we know a bit more about the universe, but on a day-to-day level, is that really helping us to do it? If you're looking at strictly in terms of that argument, probably we won't be putting that to a use like that. But as you were saying before, it expands our knowledge of the universe, and that can only be a good thing. It also adds to things culturally as well, in the way we understand things.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, you hear people, interesting in an applied science sense, people very often criticise space programs because it has no material, relationship to what we're doing on Earth. But, this may be where the solutions for our future problems might come. Certainly without, our view from space or our ability to understand more about our solar system, we probably wouldn't understand, climate on Earth as well as we do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we might draw a line under that, and we'll move on to our news bites now. It's quite an interesting topic. And I think it's quite relevant for this century too, because science, technology as well, but science in particular is becoming more and more a part of our day-to-day lives, even though it was in the past. But I think we're going to start seeing it a lot more in the future. Some of the breakthroughs that we're going to see this century. So it's important to know, where it all sits and how we can sort of get the most benefit out of it.
Absolutely. Some of the things we are going to see in the next 20 years are out of science fiction. But I think, as we always make the point, I don't think any of these things will happen overnight. I think we'll start to see them. We're starting to see 3D printing become mainstream.
Yeah.
But it won't be for another 10 years that, it pervades our life as amazingly as, say, mobile devices have. And it's interesting. Mobile devices, 20 years ago would have been mind-blowing. Today, we just accept them for what they are. So I think that, that's very easy to forget.
Exactly. All right, our first news bite, our film one. Film is officially dead at Paramount. This one from darkhorizons.com. Paramount Pictures becomes the first Hollywood studio to ditch film in releasing films, at least in the United States. I'm sure that's going to expand out to the world as well. Not surprising at all. This was a long time coming. If you want to put it in cost terms, a 35mm film print costs in the range of, $2,000 to make and deliver. If they're using a digital hard drive copy, that comes in at less than $100, and it never degrades unless, of course, there's a short circuit somewhere. Kind of surprised that they would be using a hard drive and not just sort of pressing a button and streaming it straight to the cinema, but maybe they're not quite there yet. I think this is great as far as I'm concerned. A lot of the film purists probably won't be too happy with this because, it's kind of the end of the tradition sort of thing. And I'm sure a lot of the other studios are not that far behind from doing the same thing.
Oh, look, it's obviously now economic. The model is in, and I'm sure it's helping someone's bottom line, probably Paramount.
Yeah, you don't say.
Well, what other motivation could there be in Hollywood? You know, let's hope it means we get better films. I've been watching a lot of Pixar films recently, and it does make you wonder what the rest of Hollywood is up to.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll move on to our science news bite now. From the ABC, exposure to cold may help shed kilos. Scientists in the Netherlands think turning down the heating in winter may help people lose weight. Their hypothesis is published in the journal Trends in Endocrinology and Metabolism. With the current obesity epidemic, the group says that it's time we look for our other lifestyle approaches to complement calorie restriction and exercise. Generating heat to keep the body warm uses energy, so turning down the thermostat on a building's heating could keep weight off and should be properly studied, they say.
Well, Ben, there's a couple of things on this. Firstly, this is a good example of applied science.
Yeah.
Was it worth the research? I'm not sure. Secondly, this has been a topic that's been around for a while, so I'm not sure why this has suddenly become news again. It was only a few years ago they were selling the bed that chilled you overnight.
Oh, yeah.
To lose weight. So we've known for a long time that if you're out in the cold, there's only one way to keep warm, and your body will do that by burning energy. So yes, we know that, fellas in the Netherlands. But I guess it's not a bad idea. What would they suggest? A fridge in the lounge room?
No. Well, it may work.
Well, just keeping cool. So, the bed is actually, while it sounds a bit ridiculous, is not a bad idea. Yeah. Effectively, you'd lie on the bed, it would chill you down, and your body would work harder to keep you warm. Mm. And that's as simple as it is. Otherwise, you can walk around in winter with no clothes on. That'll do just the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and finally, our tech news bite from The Age. Breastfeeding mothers get help from Google Glass and Small World. I don't know if this is a bit odd or not, but we'll see. New mothers struggling with breastfeeding may soon have the latest technology at their disposal to get expert help at any time of the day, and essentially it just means wearing Google Glass while they're, doing their thing, so to speak, and they'll have real-time access to nurses, doctors while they're wearing the appliance, and because it's a Google Glass and they'll have a camera in it, they'll be able to see exactly what's happening as it's happening.
Well, look, this is one of those things which I think cuts both ways. On the one hand, it's brilliant. Like for nursing mothers, it's very often, especially in the first week or two, it's important to, get the technique right, that works for you and works for the baby. So to think that, you can go home, you don't have to travel to an appointment, you don't need to, see someone who's going to give you advice, and then as soon as you're out of the room, you're not sure if you're doing it right, and there's a whole host of problems. So from that end, this is fantastic. I guess, maybe from a human perspective, it's fantastic, but is it just that one thing where soon we won't be able to do anything alone because we won't be quite sure, and we're going to have to dial up the experts every time? It's a flip side thing. I certainly think that the balance of this is that it's a wonderful use of Google Glass, but this is the way that technology, you would also think, might one day just leave us helpless.
Yeah, exactly, because we don't have the confidence to do it on our own.
You've always got to phone up an expert and ask them, am I doing it right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, we might wrap it up there. So thanks again, Steve, for the chat.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, FiST Chat fans. Let us know if you're using Google Glass for anything as interesting as breastfeeding.
Absolutely. Don't forget our website, FiSTChat.com. You can get all of our links there and all of our content. The ebook that we were promising all this time, FiST Report for 2013, that's now out and available on Amazon. So just go to fistreport.com and you'll see the links there. Make sure to check us out, and if you think anyone might be interested in our weekly discussions on film science and technology, then send them to our website. We'd much appreciate that. So until our next episode, we'll catch you then.